My middle name is Change, and there's going to be a lot of it. Hopefully, you're on board. You know what I love about this teaching more than anything? It includes science. It's not superstitious or dogmatic. It's an exploration of how the universe works and how it works within us. And what is our place in the grand scheme of the creative process and how each one of us is involved in that all the time. It really is a way of living from a way of perceiving reality. And I don't know about you, but I think this teaching could change the world. I think it could lift minds and hearts out of superstition and dogma into conscious living, don't you? So that's why I say we are not here only to love and enjoy each other and support each other, but to get ourselves out there into the world. So science is one of my favorite subjects. I'm very interested in what's going on in that world. And how many of you remember, first of all, do you remember the 80s? They came right after the 70s. Do you remember the biosphere? Yes. Yeah, okay. So a bunch of scientists, botanists, biologists, behavioral scientists, environmentalists, and different people got together and they created this geodesic dome-like structure, huge, and the idea was that humans could live in it, generate their own water, grow their own food, create their own atmosphere, and not leave for 2 years. Remember that? There were 8 people and lots of animals. It became what they called a successful failure. Why do you think it failed? Because the humans couldn't get along with each other. Oh, they had some all-out wars. It became a hostile environment, so they called a halt to it. But they learned a lot. The scientists learned a lot during that time about the environment and different things. But one of the things that happened, which really shocked them, they couldn't figure it out. Why would this happen? All of the trees fell over. They just fell over. And it took them a while to figure out why that had happened. It's kind of like the process of elimination. They realized the one reason those trees did not develop the strength to stand, there was no wind in the biosphere. This is a great analogy to our lives. You know, it's like the chicken and the egg. The egg is a very interesting and very well-designed structure. It's one of the strongest structures in the world. You know that? The egg, the oval shape. So there's a little chicken there, and he has to get out when it's his time to come out. Well, how does he get out? He has to kick himself out. He has to develop his legs to stand on. And if you help him out, he'll die. So it's kind of like that the trees needed something to help them develop their inner strength, to help them stand tall against the forces that would befall them in any real situation. The wind, the rain, hurricanes, all snow, and all those things. But they weren't allowed to do that because there was no force pushing at them. We might say pushing. It's a healthy kind of resistance. So we can think of the winds of change in that way. Even the changes we initiate, just because we thought of it doesn't mean we always like what we get. Just because we thought of it doesn't mean it doesn't scare us. I always tell students, if your big idea doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. It's something you already know how to do, right? Okay. It isn't real change if it doesn't require something of us, some calling up of our natural spiritual capacities. It isn't real change if it doesn't require something of us, something calling up our natural qualities that are innate in us, that we have before birth, and that we develop over time. And there are opportunities in our life that give us a chance to reveal the need for development. Now, I want to be really clear about this because people often in New Thought, have you ever had people in our teaching tell you that you need to learn lessons? Yeah. Or that God teaches you lessons? And none of that's true. It's self-initiated, the need for development. And when we come up against something that looks like a challenge to us, it's really saying, you are greater than this, and so bring forth that which is within you that is greater than this. See, that is the basic tenet of our teaching, that at all times, everywhere, every single person on this planet, whether they know it or not, is greater than the experience they're having. Greater than any experience, past, present, or future. Do you believe that? It's absolutely true, and it can save your life to remember that in times of great challenge, even the ones that we initiate. And sometimes we forget that we have initiated that. But we have an inherent ability to adapt, but more than that, to rise to the occasion. Have you ever done something and said, wow, I didn't know I had that in me? Something greater than the situation, and it brought it out. The very need to reveal who you really are came up through an outer situation. So the false interpretation of security stops many people from ever getting there. And it's like, I love Alan Watts. He was a great Buddhist scholar and quite a raconteur, but he wrote a book called The Art of Insecurity. And he professed, and I do too, that security is a false illusion of how to live. That it stops us in many cases from developing our greater capacities for love, for joy, for peace, for creative expression, for everything that we value in life. So it keeps us from expressing our true nature. And somewhere we picked up the notion that security means keeping everything the same. Can you hear the security in the consciousness, I am greater than any experience I'm having? That's security, isn't it? You see, the security that you and I have is portable. It's in us and goes with us wherever we may be. So I want to be really clear about this because sometimes people in our teaching think we need problems to grow, but it isn't true. We need opportunities to show who we really are. That's what it's all about. And if I know going in I'm greater than this experience, then I can tap into that which is necessary in the moment, which is needed in the moment to do what somebody might call a healing or a solution or move it forward. But it is always within us. This is the great secret of the ages. This is what differentiates us from so many other teachings. We do not teach you that you're becoming something or that you'll get it when you die, but that you're it now. Right now, an incarnation of the one life that's being all life, an individualization of spirit, a personification, spirit being you for the joy of expressing all that it is by means of us, by means of us. So we don't need problems, we need opportunities, who we are, and we can get a little bit lazy about generating opportunities because of the need for security. People, people sell us stuff because we have that need for security. That's what a lot of advertising is based on, our insecurities. Well, if you just put this cream on your face, right? Or you take that pill, my gosh, the pharmaceuticals. It's like when they list the side effects, one of which is death. Ask your doctor if this is right for you. I can't hardly believe it. Yeah. Oh, don't take this if you're allergic to it. Duh. It's the funniest thing. And yet people, do I need this, doctor? What are the side effects of knowing you're greater than any experience? There's side effects to spirituality. You know that? Greater peace, greater happiness, greater joy, better sleep, less worry. Sure, the mind does stuff. It'll always try to go back. but we know how to bring it home, right? I remember Dr. Arlene Bump once said, and she was healed by this teaching. She had rheumatoid arthritis. She was in a wheelchair. And the doctors told her she'd never walk again. She was given a copy of the Science of Mind book. And she locked herself in her house, covered up all the mirrors, and read that book, and she got out of that chair and walked and lived a great life. She's still living a great life. She never had that rheumatoid arthritis again because she healed her mind that didn't know she was greater than that. It's all a temporary manifestation of old ideas, whatever it is we're dealing with, but it's also an opportunity to stand up to it. Not like stands with fist, but stands with security. I'm a spiritual being in this human experience, and no matter what it looks like, I'm in charge of my experience. I have the power to see it differently, to think differently about it, to declare and affirm and bring forth something in me that I already have, that gives form to itself in the world. It's easy to want to settle for a safe, changeless life, life in the slow lane. But real security is not changeless life. Real security is in knowing that we are up to the demands that are made upon us, standing up to and welcoming change, to seeing that we are made of action, in knowing that whatever is required, we have it. See, here's an old saying. I don't really know where I got this. Change only requires what our nature demands. Our nature demands that we expand our expression all the time. That when we don't get frustrated and blame it on the situation we're in charge of it. How often do we do that? You know, we call it blaming, but really we're attributing cause, and that's very powerful. Be very careful what we attribute to cause, right? We could say it's our partner, it was our parents, it's the culture, it's the government, it's the weather, it's the economy that's making me act this way, be this way, and think this way. And it's never true. We'll grab on whatever is handy, right? Only because we've forgotten that we're greater than any experience and that cause sits at home. I think it was Emerson who said, talking about when you have a great problem, a great challenge, whether it's a physical challenge, a financial challenge, a relationship challenge, or cultural challenge, he said, be still and sit at home with cause. In other words, do not attribute cause to anything else other than yourself. That is at first a daunting thing to do, but when you realize it, it's power. When I first came into this teaching, we had a visiting minister. I was in Kona, Hawaii, and he said, yes, this teaching is the key to freedom, but it's also a bitter pill to swallow at first. Because we often misunderstand what it means. We're not talking about fault. We're not talking about you wanted to be sick or you wanted to be poor or you wanted this to happen. And we're talking about cause is deep within the field of mind, and we are in that field. We are a conscious center of spirit knowing itself. And so what we choose to know about ourselves is directional. It gives direction to this power that is forever trying to come through us. So I want you to say something out loud if you feel like it. I am the vehicle through which spirit expresses. So the book I wrote is called The Way In. You and I are the way in for God to have an experience in time, space, physical dimension. We're how it happens. We're the answer. We're the solution to a problem of how to be seen and known and retain the wholeness of being. You and I are how it did it. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. So, when we see change as a threat, that's just an ego reaction. That's the ego saying, will I still be in charge if I allow this change to happen? Will I be up to the challenges? Will I have to change? Will I have to learn something new? The ego detests change. It wants security. Now, the ego plays its part. It has a role. It's to create the status quo. And it is a function of consciousness. but it's not in charge of consciousness. Consciousness is in charge of the ego. And it can be talked to, and just how Ernest Holmes said, talk to yourself when you have a problem. Talk yourself down out of worry and anxiety. Talk yourself out of anger. Talk to yourself. Tell yourself the spiritual truth. I am greater than this experience. I have within me whatever is necessary to meet this challenge with grace, ease, joy, facility, and I am supplied with everything I need to do it. That's what's portable in us. This ability to see through. What did Jesus say? Judge righteously, not by appearances. See through the appearance, right? Okay. So I'm going to ask you today, what's pushing you forward right now? Or what feels like it's coming at you? Feels like it's the wind. What's happening in your life? Maybe it's pushing you forward and you're trying to stay put. You ever been like that? It's like, I'm not going. I don't want to do that. I've done that. It's like I keep getting the same idea over and over again. It's like, I don't want to. And yet there's something in us that wants us to expand, to move forward. Or conversely, maybe it's pushing you to stay put and be more present where you are, to express yourself more authentically where you are in a new way, and you're wanting to run away. How many of you ever wanted to run away from home? It's a common thing, believe me. It's a common thing to want to run away from a relationship, a job, whatever it is. So in either case, whether you're meant to be move forward or stay put more consciously, the situation will begin to move when we move our mind in the direction of spiritual self-awareness. I am greater than any experience I've ever had. The Buddhists have a wonderful saying, and you'll hear me say it over and over again. Nothing moves until mind moves, and nothing moves but mind. And that's true of us. And mind is not just, your local thinking. It's the consciousness of being, the awareness of I am, personalized as you. So first we make a claim that whatever seems to be missing is actually within us awaiting activation. I used to say to people if they come to center on Sunday morning and they say something's missing, I say, well, you didn't bring it. Bring it, then we'll have it. And that's a little bit flip, but it's also true. It's a law. Whatever seems to be missing in our life is in us, awaiting activation. Second, we make it real. So we reestablish our place in its path to manifestation. I am the way in, right? And nothing happens without us. We're all involved all the way. So we are then, in effect, taking on the wind and embracing it. The title of this talk today is Embrace the Wind. So we're announcing, I am ready to go. Wait, say this out loud if you feel like it. I am ready to grow. I'm ready to take a leap. That's a P, not a K, by the way. I'm ready to take a leap. To reconnect with my higher nature. To bring more of my true self into this life. And ask yourself this, can I? Can I be more available to love? Can I be more available to love? What's your answer? Yes. Of course. See, it's not about getting love. It's about allowing love to have its way with us, right? To transform us in the moment by us expressing it, and then we get to feel it and see the effects of it, and there are always effects of it. So, I can be more available to love. Say that one. I can be more available to joy, to abundance, to peace, to inspiration. See, we are quite capable of greater creativity and better work no matter what we're doing. Someone asked me what I wanted to be doing in 5 years. I said, the best work I've ever done. That's what I want to be doing all the time, is every day, all the time, developing myself. I'm not there yet totally because there's no end to us. This is an infinite thing we're dealing with. It's hard to think of ourselves as infinite when we're in these bodies, but we are, because the bodies are a temporary manifestation of God's idea of itself as us. But it's temporary. We are eternal. As Ernest Holmes said, we're immortal now. So we have an enormous capacity for more love, more compassion, more caring, don't we? Yes. Absolutely. And even if you've been in the same relationship for decades, it can be transformed. My favorite definition of what God is the power that makes all things new. It doesn't fix stuff. It doesn't heal things. It doesn't repair them. It makes them new in the moment that we realize the wholeness that we are and that is in the situation. And it manifests now. I have seen instantaneous healings because it is an idea revealed. It's not something that got fixed. That's what, you see how different this is from most teachings? And science is moving in this direction. When we were in India once, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, I forget what I say. We were in India, and I happened to be sitting next to one of our invited guests, which is Fred Alan Wolf, the quantum physicist that was in What the Bleep Do We Know? And Fred is a very irascible guy. I've had him speak at several of my centers, but he didn't know me at that time. And we were watching some Tibetan dancers. And he leans over to me, because we had invited him, but he didn't know who we were. He said, "Okay, lady, what's this new thought stuff?" That's Fred. So I told him in a nutshell, and you know what he said to me? "That's quantum physics." I said, "I know." That's the direction that science is going. And Ernest Holmes said, someday science and spirituality will walk hand in hand. The day is now. It's beginning now. All right? So we are natural givers and natural prospering beings, and we can generate a greater prosperity in order to give more. And maybe that's what the winds of change are pushing us to do. Maybe that's what the winds of change are pushing us to do as this community, to get out there more, to be seen more. I want you to say something out loud. I always have plenty to spare and share. And that could be anything: love, joy, peace, money. It's an affirmation that we ought to be saying all the time. I always have plenty of love to spare and share, right? I always have plenty of joy to spare and share. I always have plenty of money to spare and share. I'm a prospering being, and life is constantly supplying me with the content of my own self-image. Whew, what a system, right? Okay, here's another one. My body is a vitalized center of God's consciousness. My body is a vitalized center of God's consciousness. Let me tell you, if you're sick, you say that a few times and sit with it, you'll find yourself feeling pretty good. This is a vitalized center of God's consciousness. It's not a thing, it's an event. I'm an event. I'm throwing a lot out today, but I get pretty excited about this when I get going. Okay, so what spirituality asks of us is that we claim our natural self and act as though it were the only self that has ever been present in our life. You know, someone once said, "What is the constant in your life?" You. You're the only one that's been present in every event of your life and every moment of your life, and you're the one that's been calling it what it is. You know, the meaning of life is to give meaning to life, and that's what we do all the time. We describe it to ourselves, we label it, we name it, and we say, that's who I am. It isn't who we are. Who we are is the one that does the naming. So, in other words, let's stay in this moment. Let the past resolve itself into nothingness from whence it came, and bring our whole self into now. One thing about getting older is you realize the past is irrelevant. If you have this kind of teaching, it has no power to impinge itself on this now moment unless we bring it in, right? So if there are practices which actually help us to resolve the past, bring our whole self into this moment now, such as daily meditation, then great, let's adopt them. Possibility thinking, conscious giving, these are good practices. Modern spirituality encourages us to do what works. There are no mindless rituals involved in this teaching, nor do we adopt the practices of another culture if they do not serve to bring out the natural love and joy, the peace and vitality that are inherent in us. We do what works. So being you can be an exciting adventure if you embrace the wind. It's not going to knock us down. It is meant to help us stand tall and grow. Change is meant to bring out in us that which is our inner power, the power to make things new. So you have inhabited this biosphere for many years. A long time, and it has served a wonderful purpose. And there are a few people who want to stay put here forever and ever and keep on keeping on. And there's some of you that say, as Winnie the Pooh said, we can't stay in our corner of the forest waiting for others to come to us. We have to go to them sometimes. That's really true. To be more visible in the world is to be more effective in the world. And that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at over the next year, the next few months. So the majority of you have come to see that you're ready to challenge yourself, to include more diversity here. Wouldn't you like more diversity? Yes. Of all kinds. Age, lifestyle, gender, color, everything. We want the whole painting to be, and we have to make ourselves more visible in the world. We have to place ourselves in a more accessible setting, and we have to euthanize ourselves, and I mean Y-O-U-T-H. Euthanize. There's a couple of generations of people that are looking for this and they don't know it exists. And believe me, they won't come here to find it. The last place they'd look. Unless we do some grand marketing and stuff. So I'm counting on you to make these changes with me. Let's see what more we've got to give the world. We're the trees. And we're grateful for the wind that is pushing us forward. We will stand tall and we will stand together. That's my truth, and I'm sticking to it. So.